Okay, so let's continue to talk about Piaget's theory. According to Piaget, there are 4 different stages of development, or 4 different periods of cognitive development. So the first is the sensorimotor period, and that's from about 0 to 2 years. Next is pre-operations, and this is from 2 to 7. So this would be during preschool and early elementary school years. Next is concrete operations, and this is 7 to 11, so middle and late elementary school. And then finally is formal operations, which is 11 years and up. So let's get started by talking in more detail about the sensorimotor stage, so 0 to 2. So this stage is really characterized by schemes developing through changes in perceptual and motor skills. So this first stage is sensory motor. So the infant learns through actions, through senses and motor skills. Piaget noted that infants, they're going to learn best, they're most cognitively active when their bodily needs are least pressing. So they are acting on some interesting thing in their environment, which is going to happen more often when they're not hungry, they're not tired, and they're ready to go, they're ready to explore. So what we see is that by about 8 to 12 months, children start to use one scheme in service of another. So here, infants are engaging in intentional or goal-directed behavior. They're coordinating schemes deliberately to solve simple problems. So an example of this, you're using one scheme in service of another. You want the ball that's in front of you, and so you're using your scheme for reach, and you're also using your scheme for grasp to bring the ball in towards you, to explore the ball. By 12 to 18 months, infants can start to experiment with schemes. They're now able to accommodate, so their schemes can change on the fly and based on the particulars of the situation. So this is when they're going to engage in that trial and error behavior. They might, turn the knob on the radio just to see what happens. They might do it over and over again. The thing here is that they can't yet represent or think about their actions and outcomes. So infants, they have to experience it for themselves, according to Piaget. They have to physically manipulate objects when reasoning. Do you guys know those like puzzles, and it's like a cube with different shapes on top? Like there's like a triangle block and a square block, and you have to fit the block into that shaped hole. So infants, when it comes to this, they're not going to be able to tell you which piece goes in which hole in the container. They're going to have to physically try out all the pieces in the different holes. So they can't really think it through like that yet. By 18 to 24 months, infants start to engage in symbolic processing. So this is where now they do have this ability to create mental representations or internal depictions of information. And they can kind of, in their mind, they can manipulate this information. So they have images, and they can hold those images in their mind. Representation enables older toddlers to solve more advanced problems like invisible displacement. So this would be where you're trying to find a toy that's been moved when you weren't even looking for it. So an example of this, one time I was walking around with Lenny. We were driving to the grocery store, and he really wanted to bring this little Lego guy. And so I'm getting him out of his car seat. We're about to go into the store, and he has his little Lego guy. He really wants to bring it inside. And I said, well, we're probably going to forget it if you bring it inside. Why don't you leave it in the car? But he really wanted to bring it inside. So I was like, okay, whatever. Like, you've got to remember it. And so we go into the grocery store, and I did not even realize where he put the Lego guy. But we're doing our grocery shopping. We check out, go out to the car. I'm putting the groceries in the trunk, and he looks at me and goes, "Oh no, my Lego man." And I was just like, oh no. And so he really wanted to go back in the store. So I was like, okay, we can go back in for a little bit and look for it. So we go back in, and he actually went straight to our cart, and he had remembered that right in the beginning, he had put his little Lego guy in the bottom of our cart, in the little basket in the bottom of the cart, and he remembered exactly where it was. So this, you're going to see that this happens between 18 to 24 months, that they can to a certain extent remember where they put things, kind of use these symbols and keep these symbols in their mind. The other thing about being able to use symbols is it makes possible make-believe play. So 24 months, you guys, is the end of the sensory motor stage. And so what we see is it's really kind of right towards the end of here where children are gearing up to start to engage in make-believe play. So being able to use symbols allows for this make-believe play.